hotter the conflict, the greater the triumph.
A theist serpent may be overcome by a swarm of ants.
Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. Age wrinkles the body, quitting wrinkles the soul.
Battle buddies.
Battle buddies.
I'm nervous.
You're nervous.
So while Erin and I went to Target today, and while she was looking at tops, I was waiting in line with my cart, and I saw a gentleman in front of me, and he had a calf tattoo, and it had like a bust of like a Roman. It looked like a Roman emperor thing going on, and I was like, "Hey man, what you got going on there?" He's like, "It's Julius Caesar," and I was like, "Oh, check out mine. I got Herodotus." And he was like, "Yeah, Julius Caesar." And I wanted to be like, "Yeah, did you know he's like a huge piece of shit?"
The worst.
Did you know that he killed my people? Did you know that?
He's canceled, actually.
And he'd be like, "Who are your people?" And I'd be like, "German people." And he'd be like, "Well,"
Who
I
cares?
started coming a little bit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of Battle Buddies, an At Ease episode where we get to read obscure headlines from around the world. And this one's a special one because we have my wife, Miss Erin.
Hello.
What do you do, dear? What do you do for a living? What is your life like?
I am a middle school teacher.
Woo.
So I teach 7th grade English and Avid 7 and Avid Excel.
All three of us work at the same school.
We do all work
Yeah.
at the same school now.
Yeah. Shout out to Vacaville.
Yeah.
You know, last night when we went and saw Ben Kissel and Travis Irvine in San Francisco, and Kevin got to stand up and ask a question at the end.
That was fun.
And he was like, "We're from Vacaville," and people cheered.
Yeah.
Like it was.
We got some woos. And they were not ironic woos.
And then this woman came up to us like, "I'm from Fairfield," and we were like, "Dang, that's cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I was like shocked that people knew where Vacaville was.
Yeah. And then what did you say? Oh, you gave her like some language like, "Yeah, we're Flatlanders."
Flatlanders.
Really let her know that you know what Fairfield's about.
What's up?
You know?
She knew it. She loved it.
That's exactly right. The flats out here, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dear, welcome to Battle Buddies. We're excited
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Happy to be here.
We just read silly not all of them are silly.
Not all of them are.
Some of them are actually real. Yeah.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah. Where do you want to start, dude?
Well, before we start, so we've talked about, I think on the show, definitely off air when we talk about like who we're going to bring on. And Aaron, I don't know if you know this, but we think you would die first in World War II Germany. Like you do the worst
Love it.
out of everybody.
Explain.
Just because you just have a loving heart and you have a real hard time turning it off.
You got to be more
Yep.
explicit, babe. You would not
Yep.
be a good Nazi.
You'd be a terrible Nazi.
That's what he's trying to say.
Oh, got it.
You're
Yes.
like-
Well,
Go hate on these minorities. And you're like, actually, what
Yeah.
if we teach them instead?
That's right.
I will take being a horrible Nazi any day. That's
You guys want to hear a fun fact?
Yes.
This is the first episode Erin has ever heard of Battle Buddy.
Whoa! Shame.
It's nothing against you guys and your podcast. I have raging ADHD and I cannot focus on a podcast,
All good,
even
it's fine.
if it's made by two of my favorite people.
Okay, babe, how many books have you read so far this year?
Oh, almost 40?
Damn.
It's more than me.
That's way more than me.
Yeah. All right, where are we going?
Okay.
Where are we turning our attention to?
Yeah. Well, let's learn about how this great nation that we live in works.
Yay!
So this one. All right. Can we all see that?
We can.
So this was a couple days ago. The House, the Representatives, they just passed a defense spending bill, which is usually, if you're not up on this, Aaron, it's usually like a pretty bipartisan thing. And like usually this isn't a left-right split. This is more pro-establishment, critical of the establishment split, right? Like those that
Okay.
don't like all of our military interventions. Like Bernie's not usually like, we should increase the defense spending bill, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like that. But this year it's been fucking wacky as hell. And they put on these things that they're calling them amendments, but I think I was was taught that they're called writers. Were you guys taught writers in high school?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so in high school, I had a good government teacher, and he taught us like these things called writers, which is you have like a bill, and then right before the bill passes, you can just tack on whatever you want.
Oh, really?
There's no rules, and so
Really?
they don't have to mean anything, and you do it to either get your agenda through or you fuck it up so that everybody has to veto it.
Got it.
And so overall, like writers, I don't like them. I don't like that it's a part of our system. It feels like it's skirting the whole, I don't know, democratic process. Like you don't have to go through and have your representatives like say if they're for or against something. Anyway, the defense spending bill that got passed has all these fucking writers on it that are like have nothing to do with defense spending in my mind, which is it's essentially like a bunch of like don't say gay in the military things. Like you can't be gender in the military. Like they were not going to pay for certain procedures. They're going to get rid of like diversity programs and stuff.
What does that have to do with defense?
That's well, and so in my mind, the other big issue with this, whether or not you agree with those problems or not, or those political issues, is that there's no way this is fucking going to pass in the Senate. Like this is now a stupid bill that like it got passed by conservatives, which is fine, but they put all these writers on knowing damn well that this has no chance to get through the Senate. But all those guys who put the writers on now look fucking great in their hometowns and to their party because they like
heroes. Yeah,
they towed the line and made it a political issue. And I'm just thinking about all the servicemen who wanted the 5% raise.
Yeah.
Like Spencer and I were talking about, like government jobs and government raises are hard to maintain.
Absolutely.
Erin and I are in the thick of it right now for a teachers union. Like we're trying to get raises. And now I'm like, I'm just pissed for all the active servicemen who aren't going to get their 5% raise because there's no way this is going to pass.
Well,
and
so
like,
question.
Yeah.
There's no reality in which they could be like, okay, I want to accept the 5.2% raise, but the X, Y, and Z we're not gonna accept. It has to be all or none.
Because it's the bill. Like this is the bill that got put forth to the House of Representatives, and then they passed it. So now it has to go to the Senate like it is, including all the amendments. Let's watch a little clip.
Ooh, yay, clips.
On this.
I love clips.
The U.S. House of Representatives on Friday passed a bill allocating $886 billion for the...
Okay, really quick.
886 what?
Yeah, it's the biggest one.
A lot of money.
$886 billion?
Billion.
We have that much?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about that yet.
Okay.
I want to talk about this fucking eagle.
$86 billion for the Department of
eagle
Defense,
right here.
But the normally
So, Erin, you don't know this, but we've been covering Julius Caesar. And at Julius Caesar, we've learned in Roman times that Roman soldiers, someone would carry an eagle with them. And it was seen as like the biggest disgrace if you lose that eagle in battle. If that guy dies or the eagle gets captured. People, they fought wars and battles over recollecting these eagles.
Wow.
And
Channing Tatum is in an entire movie called Eagle. About protecting a golden eagle.
It looks really bad.
Oh, I want to see it.
I really want to
I would love to watch it and make fun of it. Yeah.
We'll watch it and debrief on the podcast.
And then we'll watch Magic Mike.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. And debrief on that.
I never watched Magic Mike.
Me neither, but I heard it's great.
I love magicians.
I like Matthew McConaughey.
It's a win-win.
I like magician.
Anyway, so this eagle, it's weird. So this guy's like a sergeant at arms, and it's one of the first things that the House actually passed, which was about having this fucking eagle thing. And
this year?
No, like when the House was
back in the day,
the House of Representatives was first formed.
Okay.
And it is used like you threaten to like hit people with it if they don't stop talking. If they're disrupting the event, like the meeting.
I really
What?
If you do hit someone, you got to be like,
yeah. It's like
whack-a-mole.
It's really funny. I just love that this is like random Roman. I don't know.
Politics is so
and that it's still involved.
I think last time it was used like 1994. Like someone threatened to use it because someone was like filibustering. It's like, if you do not yield your time, I will use the eagle.
We're gonna have to find that clip.
Wild.
It'd be fucking dope. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the real thing about the billions and billions of dollars.
Bipartisan National Defense Authorization Act cleared the Republican-controlled House with a vote largely along party lines. That division came after far-right Republican lawmakers were able to pack the NDAA with amendments on hot-button social issues. They included measures forbidding the Defense Department from paying for travel for service members to seek abortions, denying gender-affirming care, and defunding diversity programs. Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy said those amendments would remove politics from the Pentagon.
Just focus on the military. Stop using taxpayer money to do their own wokeism.
Okay. And that's all we need to listen to on that, because he's doing it to make it apolitical.
Yeah, exactly. That makes zero sense.
I don't know.
It's fun how they use the word wokeism to try to, like, that's the hot word that when your Republican uncle, it's like, yeah, did you hear that? Wokeism. And it's like, what?
I will say, though, far right conservatives have the best slogans. Like wokeism, that's hilarious.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Go woke, go
great.
broke. That's really good.
I didn't hear that.
I have not heard of that one.
Yeah, a lot of
woke,
go
go
woke, go broke. I'm like, I like that one a lot. Like, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's stupid though, right? Like,
so it is stupid. I would say when you hear things that are super broad, like what were they calling it? Diversity programs.
Right.
Well, what is that?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So when you say something like, because here's the thing. If there were to be someone that made a diversity program, I wouldn't want it to be the government.
Right.
Like I wouldn't want that to come from a government entity. I would want that to come from something else entirely that understands diversity.
Sure. And I totally, like, we can talk about all of the legal, like, can the military pay for somebody to go out of state for an abortion? Like, those are interesting topics. I just don't think the defense bill is where you throw that in and all of a sudden solve it, like, without it being a discourse. Like, I just don't like that. I don't like the way that, I don't like executive orders from the left or the right from presidents, and I don't like writers like this.
I wrote a paper in college where the topic was inmates in prison getting using their transition. They were getting funded for transition surgeries to transition from whatever sex they wanted to. And it was a big deal because that's very expensive and that's taxpayer dollars. And they were saying it as like it would help their mental health by doing so. But it was also like on the other side of the coin, it was like, but should we be paying for that? Right. Like, you are in prison. Prisoners do have rights, though. They do have their own rights, right? I'm going to say, like, before we do that, maybe let them vote first.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's crazy. Anyway.
Nothing but positive stuff here.
Yep.
At Battle Buddies. Well, that's a fun one. Okay. 868 billion. Is that how much it was?
I think so.
That's
a lot.
Absurd number I've ever heard in my entire life.
And they're just so cavalier about it because it's not going to pass. There's no way.
Well, and they're like, from the far right side, they're like, protect our troops. And it's like, well, we're trying to do something to support the troops, and you're tacking all these things on here
that's true.
That are, not going to get our troops the raise they deserve.
That's a true point. Good point. True point.
Thank you. I like making points.
All right. Are we going to my super positive stuff next?
Yeah, we got really positive ones.
Dude.
Oh, geez. I must say, though, my favorite is learning about the eagle. Thank you, Kevin, for that.
Yeah, that was the best part.
The eagle's cool. I feel like I want to bring that in my classroom. Like, here's crazy.
Don't make me use this.
Yeah. Like,
for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you can go to our Instagram and there's a clip of the eagle where we talk about it and educate you on the eagle. So buckle up for this next one because it's a doozy. Here we go.
Buckle up.
Hey, let's see. God, I hate doing these shorts.
Killed or injured. 10 years ago, there were 90 mass shootings in the first 5 months of the year. So far this year, 263. So why is this happening? Well, for gun advocates, there's a simple explanation.
Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger.
But it's a lot more complicated than that. The majority of active shooter incidents involve people without a mental health diagnosis. One study found that 9 in 10 carried out mass casualty attacks had personal issues in the lead up to that event. Things like like job loss, divorce, or health complications. But these issues affect people the world over. So what makes America different? Well, it's the guns. Almost half of all civilian-owned firearms in the world are found here in America. That's nearly 400 million guns. And for reference, there's only about 330 million people who live in America. 2023 is the worst year for mass shootings in America for.
So,
Yep, that's a lot.
the short of it is that this first half of the year is the most mass killings that this country has seen in a really, really long time. And this comes at an interesting time in the Schultz family residence because the other night, prior to us going down to Disneyland, our power went out. Have I told you this story?
No.
So our power went out, and my wife and I sleep with white noise. Like that's like literally if there's no white noise, it'll wake me up.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So I wake up and the house is quiet. And as we're laying there, we just hear whap coming from the front of the house. And so
We're like, this is it. Like,
Yeah,
it's
bro.
happening.
I'm like,
Spence like hops out of bed.
so I run out of the room and Erin was like, babe, you should probably get the bat. I was like, I thought it was time to use some of my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I grabbed the bat and my adrenaline is through the roof. Like, holy shit, this is really happening.
Yeah.
This is we're being broken into right now. My lovely wife uses command strips to hang decorations in our house. So
Everywhere.
So the command strip, basically, there was this sign above our door that says, "But first, coffee," and it slammed face first onto our wooden floor. And that's all that happened. Now, that being said, the next morning, so I didn't sleep at all that night.
Yeah.
Because my
Did you get
adrenaline was
sick
through the.
from the adrenaline?
I did not throw up, no. But I was.
Because like sometimes, like I saw somebody get like killed by a car right in front of me on my way to teach at Long Beach once. And my adrenaline was so high, I got the flu that night.
Whoa.
Wild.
Well, that
Body
tracks.
response.
That makes sense. I could see that for sure.
Because you don't know what to do with it, and then it drains, and then you just...
Yeah. No, so like the
Yeah.
next morning was really rough.
Yeah, I bet.
So I didn't sleep at all. My butthole was super tight,
Mhm.
obviously, that whole night.
I'll do it.
So Erin didn't have any fun with my butthole that night.
No.
But the point was, is the next
Darn.
day, I was like, okay, so maybe this is a conversation for a gun, right?
Right.
I'm like, is it time? Is it time to have a gun? And I feel sad because when I see this video that we just watched about how we're living in a time in our country where we're seeing a huge influx of mass killings, where I'm thinking like, okay, our government's worried about, transgenders in the military and, $868 billion. Like, I don't think guns are going anywhere.
Nope.
So I'm feeling like I have to buy in, right? Like,
It's-
I should probably get a gun since everyone else has guns. And that's
Yeah.
the sad part for me.
Yeah.
It's not like, if I don't get a gun, then I'm helping the problem.
Right.
It's not, because it's not, guns aren't going to go anywhere. And we've been down this road with Hannah, and the moment I spoke about it, Hannah was like, guns are bad.
Yeah.
Which they are.
But
We just saw it. Like,
we talked about it because Hannah and I have been camping in sketchy ass places.
yeah, bears and shit.
Yeah. Well, and like
But also
people
people.
shooting guns because it's like not campgrounds, it's just national forest.
Yeah.
You have like weird rights there, and we're like just hanging out with people, and you just hear guns the whole time. You're like, holy
Does that make you
fuck.
feel safe?
No, it's really.
No.
Yeah.
What I would like in my house, I think, is like a red carpet and just some signs like, hey, take whatever you want. All the expensive things are on either side of the red carpet, and then it goes straight to the back door and they can leave. Because like,
It's a good point.
my worry when I get robbed, or if I get robbed or something, is not that they take my things. Like that's fine. Just don't think that I want my things more than I want my family
Children.
to be okay.
Totally.
That's exactly.
I couldn't
right.
care less about my belongings. It's like, don't come after my family.
Not my
Yeah.
debt too. Like you can have it all.
Yeah, all of it. Take it.
Great.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about that? Where's your soul go?
It's hard. Did you have? I had kids that were really scared this last year, just in terms of like school shooter shit. Anytime something
Yeah,
happened, they would like.
It's
panic.
honestly, as an educator, school shootings are obviously like really near and dear to my heart. And so it's honestly something that I kind of got to block out of my mind.
Yep.
To be completely honest. Like I can't give it too much thought. Because I love my family and I also love my job. And so if I or to put so much thought into knowing that any day that I go to work could be the day, I don't do too well.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I'm thinking about how to package it because not talking about it is naive to your students, right? I remember in 6th grade, we had a science teacher who was like, I was in the Special Forces Army, and if there's a shooter on this campus, like he's gonna have to get through me, and I want all of you to know that. I was like, that's tight. Yeah. I was like, I felt like so like warmed by that, but it's also really sad that in this country, like that's a conversation that you have to have.
Yep,
totally. I think it's important to set the ground rules and like have discussions about it. Absolutely, but like for me, even in like the day-to-day life in our home and like protecting our family, it's like I can't really. The thought of like, do we get a gun? Do we not get a gun?
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's the same as, the way that you handle it with your kids at school. I feel like there's just it's so complex of an issue.
Yep.
There's just so many moving parts.
And it's a politicized issue. It really sucks when something is a political issue, even though it's more of like a social issue or just like a welfare issue.
Oh, do we have a visitor?
Someone can. Why don't we ask Logan what his opinion on guns is? Hold on. Logan, tell Daddy, how do you feel about guns?
How do you feel about guns, bud?
Shotguns.
Shotguns.
What about them?
What about them?
Shooting aliens in Halo.
Shooting aliens in Halo.
Yeah.
Like shooting. Him and I were playing Halo today, and I picked up a shotgun for him, and he was like, "Yay!" Do you like guns, Logan?
Shotgun.
Yeah. What are you gonna be when you grow up?
Superman. Superman.
Nice. There's no guns with Superman. Superman doesn't use guns. He just jumps.
Sharkman.
Oh, a shark man?
No.
Man, this is our life, dude. Yeah, getting frustrated.
Superman.
Very cool, dude. I think that's a good move.
Okay, for our next one, we're gonna go to California. And this one's interesting.
Oh.
I didn't really know that much about this issue, but it makes sense. So the article or the topic is this California from Newsom. It's going to provide textbooks to Temecula students. Hey guys, when we recorded this, it was 1 million degrees, and so our sound equipment broke a couple times. I'll reread this headline so that it doesn't sound like gargly goop. After California's Temecula Valley Unified School District voted 3-2 to reject a curriculum because it included a book that referenced the activist Harvey Milk, Governor Gavin Newsom announced Thursday that the state would purchase and distribute the book if the board didn't reverse course by the start of the school year on August 14th.
Gavin Newsom said that?
Well, here, we can listen to him. It's interesting, and then we'll talk about it.
Already forming.
Gavin Newsom, father of 4 with 2 young elementary school kids, and I want to talk to the parents of the Temecula School District. We've been paying close attention, as I know you have, particularly with school coming up on August 14th. You're worried, I'm worried, we're all worried about access to information, access to the latest social studies books that are being made available quite literally to hundreds of thousands of kids all throughout the state of California that are being denied to the kids in the Temecula district. That social studies book is being censored by the local school board. I know that's created a lot of anxiety. The last thing we need is more anxiety and more stacking of stress. So I want you to know that we're moving forward. The state is moving forward in purchasing and procuring those social studies books. Your kids have the freedom to learn, and you have the freedom to access those books, the same books that hundreds of thousands of other kids throughout the state are accessing. So rest assured, we'll be sending those books down in very short order. And let's do our best, all of us, to soften the edges of these debates and to make sure that we provide accurate information and the freedom for our kids to learn. That, after all, is the California way.
Woo! I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
Tell us what you got.
Let's hear it.
Well, so obviously, as someone who taught in a Title I school for 7 years. And curriculum is very hard to come by. Good curriculum is very hard to come by. So for people to be upset about a curriculum, and let me just make sure I'm understanding all of this correctly. He is saying that California will be purchasing another curriculum to accommodate the people who do not want LGBTQ topics in social studies books.
Okay, so the way that I understand it is that Temecula rejected during like this session that they rejected their current history curriculum. So they like revoked it.
Yeah.
And from my understanding is they haven't found a replacement yet for it. So for those that aren't educators, this is of course a Williams Act violation. Like you have to have access to textbooks to a curriculum. It has to be an adopted curriculum. And so Newsom's response is like, you can't just do that, dum-dums. Like, and so then he is buying them and giving them to every household that currently wouldn't have a history curriculum.
Got it. Okay, I interpreted that very differently.
Well, I read this story many times because it's not confusing. Totally clear why this needed to happen. Like, and why didn't they have a replacement? Like, it's weird. It's a weird story.
It's really weird. And I mean, so like, obviously I'm glad I asked for clarification because that'll boil me down a little less, but still, it's just wild how there's so much inequality when it comes to like access to textbooks.
Do you want him?
I don't know.
Do you want him to read the little blurbs here about the?
That would be helpful.
Yeah, let's learn a little more. Okay, so from the Republican side, the right narrative, because this is a political split. This isn't like a pro-critical of the establishment. This is like a clear left-right split. And the right is saying the school board did the right thing after parents revolted against teaching about inappropriate interactions between an adult and a minor. That's in reference to Harvey Milk, because Harvey Milk it is an issue, a problem with him as a historical figure. He had a relationship with an underage individual. And following on with the right narrative, it says, the board followed the will of its constituents and voted to remove material that's meant to groom children. That groom children part's weird.
That's
There's absolutely no need for first graders to learn about these topics in official school capacity. And then the left narrative says the board majority didn't follow the will of the people. It followed the will of an evangelical pastor and other right-wing officials who put them in power. The section of the book on milk, which takes up just half a page, is part of a history lesson on the gay rights movement. Yet is more evidence of conservatives censoring what they do not agree with.
And just to put some things into context for those who don't know, Temecula is like Camp Pendleton's backyard. So a lot of Marines live in Temecula. It's a very conservative place.
Used to be a very, very tiny town. Was not
really. Oh, because aren't you?
Yeah, my family's from there. That area.
Okay, it's kind of like it's wine country as well, or is that Maria?
More probably Maria, but Temecula has a lot of wine.
Yeah, so it's a conservative town, to say the least.
So Newsom is buying new history books that do not include this information of Harvey Milk.
It does include this.
So I think he's literally buying the history books that they got rid of.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Same one.
So he's buying them. They're like, we're not going to use these history books. And Gavin Newsom is like, then I'll buy them and I'll just give them back.
Cool. Okay.
Like Newsom is being pretty clever. So like, I think he's doing it in like a very tongue-in-cheek way, which I think is the response to it. He's like buying them the same thing. He's not really referencing the Harvey Milk thing. He's like the official spin is just like, this isn't how it works. Like you can't just take away all curriculum.
Absolutely. Okay. I feel silly now. The way I first interpreted it was all these people put up a stink and like a new curriculum was magically purchased for them.
That would have been a better thing for them to have done.
Like, but I do agree that it's like, okay, Newsom, cool.
This is why we have these episodes, because sometimes you got to you gotta dive into these headlines and figure out what the hell they're talking about.
And I think that's actually like a cool point, because I feel like there's so many people, especially like I hear students who like might read a headline of an article and then think that they're like fully educated on a topic. you know, and it's like, I even just like heard that whole little blurb and I still misinterpreted what it was saying. And I was getting all worked up because of my lens that I see things as like an advocate of the education community, that I like listened to that entire video in a way that like kind of like backed up my inner rage of like lack of educational resources, you know? So that's interesting.
It's crazy. I feel like if I was trying to think like if I don't care that they teach a page on the gay rights movement and they talk about Harvey Milk as a very important California figure. But if I did, I was trying to think about like, is this an approach that I would appreciate? I think I would not appreciate this approach at all because one, all of those history teachers now can just teach whatever they want because there's no curriculum. Like I got to trust all these wild cards. History teachers are always wild cards. Like they might be crazy one way or the other, and like you don't know what you're going to learn if there's no curriculum guiding them.
It's also interesting that the group of people that are upset that they're taking down like Confederate statues. Like this is the same group that they're upset that they're taking Harvey Milk out of a history book. It's like, you can't have it both ways, dude. Right. Like you guys are the people that are upset about the Confederate statues. This is the same thing. Like there's
our historical figures to be heroes.
But like you were saying last night when we were talking about this, Kevin, you were like, okay, so if they're upset about Harvey Milk grooming kids, which by the way, like if that comes up, which it doesn't in that half page, I'm assuming. Right?
I think it might reference. I don't know.
So if it does, that's a moment for a conversation.
So my other thing was, so the first thing is now you're gonna let loose all these history teachers to not have a curriculum to bind them.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
2, I have always felt that like the government does an okay job, and then at the home is when we can go through the information that you learned. Like I always went through information with my parents.
Absolutely.
Like even especially when I was younger, like
absolutely.
I'd be like, hey, my teacher said this. And they're like, well, yeah, that could be an answer. Or like they may have overstepped a little bit, Kevin. Like, where's like personal responsibility to do that?
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying, like, does this mean that every time we learn about George Washington, it's like take him out of the history books because he did own slaves?
Yeah, he did. Like, and we're not talking about like when you teach George Washington in first grade, you're not like he loved to own people. Until he read a letter from Lafayette later on.
I mean, all that being said, like Harvey Milk grooming children is fucking atrocious and egregious and unforgivable 100%.
Yeah, he's not
bad and
my historical figures are not my heroes.
Yeah, but the fact
favorite poet besides Walt Whitman is Wallace Stevens, and he got knocked out by fucking Hemingway. And that's embarrassing because
like,
I really
physically?
Like yeah, he tried.
Yeah, Hemingway liked to fight.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Wallace Stevens sold insurance. I got off topic there.
Oh, good.
It happens.
All right, California, things are happening. I will say that the way that Gavin Newsom presented that information was not the worst.
Yeah. So is he officially running for president yet? He for sure is. Like. Those kinds of moves are like
he's going to.
Those are big.
Oh, that's new to me. That's interesting.
I think he's going. I know that DeSantis is doing horribly. The governor of Florida is crashing and burning, and
he's doing really bad.
It's
really hard to listen to him.
It looks like on the Democratic ticket, the only one that people are like looking at is RFK Jr.
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Who is not problematic at all. There's nothing to unpack with that guy.
All right. I handpicked this one for my lovely Erin wife because she
Let's hear it.
How many animals did you have growing up, babe?
27.
27,
including a horse, bro.
27 animals.
You had a horse? You were a horse girl?
I was. Technically a pony. Technically a pony, but you know.
Your parents bought you a pony?
So we bought it from our neighbor. So I grew up on like a little over an acre.
Cool.
And when we moved into the house, there was like a corral and a barn and all that, but no animals. And so our neighbor was selling their pony. His name was Frosty, and they were like, well, you can only buy the pony from us if you take the sheep also. So we took the sheep, and they were best friends. It was like, you can't split them up. So we took both, and that was kind of the beginning of the end of animals. all everywhere.
Yeah, the turtles that we had as a kid are still there, right?
They are still there. They are still alive.
That's
Forever. Yeah.
That I got in like second grade.
Wow. All right, let's with that in mind, let's
Animals,
watch that.
let's hear it.
We don't have to watch this whole clip, but we'll get the idea.
The Toronto Zoo wants to reduce the amount of phone screen time gorillas are seeing from humans. To explain why, I'm joined by Holly Ross, supervisor of behavioral. So first of all, why does the Toronto Zoo, Holly, not want people to share cell phone images with gorillas? Who would think I'd be asking this question?
Yeah. We just see that it can just be distracting for some of the gorillas. In particular, we have a male gorilla, Nasser, who seems really enthralled with videos that certain guests would show to him. And so we just want the gorillas to be able to be gorillas. And when our guests come to the zoo, we want them to be able to see gorillas in a very natural state and what they would be doing naturally to sort of connect with them on that level. So we don't really want our guests coming and showing them videos and, we would rather have them see them do gorilla things.
So, Holly, I know obviously there are a lot of similar behaviors between humans and.
So
they want to make gorillas again. That's what they want to do.
It's so funny because we talk about it I was thinking of some like crotchety teachers that we've known in our life. And like, the kids are on their technology all the time, but they never say, I want them just to be them. Like, that's never
just let the teens be teens.
I do not want 8th graders to be themselves.
So the Toronto Zoo had to put up an actual placard by the gorillas, and it says, do not show cell phone videos to these animals. I think so. The thing that's really interesting to me about this is that, typically when we do certain things, a lot of times they'll be like, well, did you see that mouse study that they did? Right? Like, they're constantly doing studies with mice so that we can figure out certain things about humans. And we don't need to do that with cell phones.
No.
So every human being has a cell phone, and we're already seeing the repercussions of cell phone use, that we're now like, oh, don't do that to the animals, dude. They don't deserve that. And it's just funny. And so the video also doesn't say what kind of videos they're showing the gorillas. So like, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so where my mind goes, first of all, this has happened so many times that they had to put a sign there.
100%.
Like, there are enough people visiting a zoo and their first instinct, let me show the gorilla a video.
And so I want to know what kind of video they're doing, though. Like, my mind, I gotta say, my mind did think pornography. I was like, are you showing them porn? And then the girls are
see how they react.
I'm hoping it's like meme-y things.
Like what?
Like a meme.
Things?
Yeah.
Okay. Or like some
funny
trick videos. Like
do they want to see if the gorilla would act like a human would react? I
already know the answer to that. They probably would. They're very similar.
They're hella bored.
And they're hella bored. Exactly. They if you continue to watch that, we'll put all of the links in our bio for this in Spotify for this episode. But if you watch the full video, they have videos of people showing the gorillas, and the gorillas are just like like they're at home on the toilet watching. Like my daughter, dude, when she comes home from school, she goes to the bathroom and she sits there for minutes and like just watches videos while she's taking a number 2.
Yeah, Hannah will text me. It's like, if you're pooping, fine, but if you're reading an article again, you got to get out.
I think it's valid.
Yeah,
I think it's like
fair.
it's a bad habit. Yeah. Come read it out here. Come be with us. Don't be.
Well, it's like you start it while you're pooping, and sometimes you just get sucked into the article.
I feel it, dude.
Yep.
We're all victim to it. So
I feel like, it's like almost just a second habit, just to be like, oh, I'm going to be sitting here idly. Like, I might as well be looking at my phone.
I've been trying to break it because, like, it's amazing how quickly my like 1.5-year-old can now like flip through on our phone, even though he's only like grabbed our phone randomly, but they get it.
Like becoming instinctual.
They know it.
So listeners, if you want a Battle Buddies t-shirt, let me know. If like instead of like a don't feed the animals t-shirt, we had a t-shirt that said like don't show the animals your cell phone videos.
That would be good.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, let me know if you'd wear that. That would be fun.
That would be fun. And back to it.
All right, so we're going to be looking at my favorite thing to read, which is the Spotlight on Global Jihad. This is, Erin, you don't know because you haven't listened to any of our episodes, but I really like Spotlight on Global Jihad. It's a very intense research on it. Keeps track of all of like terrorist things going on. And what is interesting about what's going on right now, there's a lot of action going on in Syria, and the USA just killed an ISIS leader with a drone strike, which that's always very conflicting for me.
Was there collateral damage?
So I was reading, I think somebody got injured, but they said there were no collateral fatalities, which is honestly like, okay,
best
better.
Case scenario.
Yeah.
Well, I have something to talk about with that. No, let's talk about that now. So I have been saying every time we do drones, I don't feel like drones are cool. Like, makes me really have an issue with Obama, and I think there's repercussions from it we're not like facing. Like there's gonna be things happening from this. Like when we drop the nukes and then like years later, like it's not a great moment for us in like, I don't know, as a military power, because everyone's like, you're the only one who did it, you ass. Like,
do you think it's cheap? Is that what you're saying? Like it's not true warfare? Is that where you're going with it?
No, I'm saying it opens the door to something we don't know.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Like AI being like, just spot these bad people and just make things happen.
Right.
I guess that's scary.
It's scary. Like, and you're letting them do it from their couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right now, I mean, it was in this report too. Terrorists are getting really good with their drones.
Oh no. See?
Because terrorists are very adaptable by nature. Like, and they have been figuring out how to use drones. So
yeah, see, I don't like it.
I don't like that all of a sudden.
Nope.
Anyway, so the interesting part of this is that they were building out some context, and basically they think that Russia a couple weeks ago was kind of in trouble from America because they were using their planes to kind of disrupt and move around our drones. They made them perform evasive maneuvers. And since that was happening on like July 6th, right around then, when did we covered it when it was first starting to happen, the Russian planes messing with it?
I feel like it was earlier than
July 6th. It was earlier than that. But anyway, they're starting to think that maybe these Russian planes that are messing with drones and stuff are trying to help like Iran maybe protect the certain objectives that Iran has with some of their militias. So like that's super, super complicated all of a sudden from one little drone strike.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah,
exactly. And so Kevin and I were talking about this a little bit last night, and where my mind kind of goes, with all this, is like when you have everything going on with the Russia-Ukraine thing, everything going on in the South China Sea, and how Russia and China are now like linking, like, you know, they're having a bond and they want to help all the oil countries like Iran and Iraq and things like that. Yep. My mind gets pretty World War III vibes about it. When the whole world is now trying to, you know, get at something specific like that.
Yeah, especially when two big countries are like teaming up for a common goal.
Yep. Yeah, it gets sticky. You know, when the United States is in the South China Sea with like the Philippines and Germany and all these other countries who want free trade through the South China Sea. It's like I get World War vibes from that hardcore. Yeah.
Being like the hippie in me is like, I don't like that. Like,
I don't even get to be a hippie to not want that. I think you just need to be
make love, not war.
Human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about a world war.
No. Well, especially thinking of so I read a book called Where the Lemon Trees Grow, and it's like a YA book about a girl in Syria, and it goes through like the everyday, like, common man's experience of all the terror of war, like, going on around them. And for me, as someone who, like, obviously I don't watch your podcast, like, I'm really into historical fiction, but very, like, specific things. I don't know much about current events and all that. So reading that book was, like, a really eye-opening thing to see, you know, how I've never obviously lived during a war, like, attacking on my country, like, where, you know, it's not like in the 50s where you'd, like, hide and there'd be, like, bomb sirens going off. Like, obviously I've lived through a war, but not like that. So that was a really good book and really eye-opening to see the impacts of war on people.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if it makes you feel better, we don't know. We don't read headlines. We're not super into current events either, but we do know some stuff just from doing these episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're not sitting there reading the Wall Street Journal every day.
No.
Yeah.
And so we'll go one more Syria thing. We've talked before. So I have a hard time, like, hating
Syria
terrorists.
Okay.
Like, as people, because, like, they are radicalized. Like, I just feel like they were radicalized. And you know, I'm more curious, I guess, about, like, how did you become radicalized? And
Kevin has sympathy for them.
Yeah.
Like, what pushed you there?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything.
Well, and, like, what was the rhetoric that was used, and how much were you manipulated versus how much was this, like, a goal you had?
People got to eat.
Yeah, and I was, you know, so this came out. This is another thing, and I believe this is serious still. And so what we'll watch here is how people become radicalized, which is that you take kids and you bring them to a class like this. This
Wild.
feels so much different from
It's just another day at Owl Hole.
Yeah. Yep. These are kids.
Children.
Those are wooden guns that the kids are holding. Not great.
Mm-mm.
But you see how people become radicalized. You take them as kids, you build obstacle courses, and you're playing, like, equivalent of rock and roll music. And
Yeah, it's like you're pumping them up, like you're making them feel good about something that's really bad.
That makes me think of church in the United States, and people are going to be upset with me making that comparison, but I am sorry.
Well, okay, I didn't know. I was talking to my friend who grew up very religious, still is religious, and like in Righteous Gemstones, they have the people go and, like, they tear up books, and, like, they are like bodybuilders for gods, and they go to schools. I thought that was a joke, and she told me, she's like,
very real.
No, that's a real thing. Like, you didn't go to those as a kid, because she's from the South. And I was like, that's crazy to me. It's the same rhetoric, right? It's the same persuasive technique. You can debate which one's more evil, or, like, that's all.
Of course.
But seeing the similarity is just because getting kids interested in things is a good way to get them to hear your story.
Today we're gonna picture of the Quran.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with cults too, though. Like, they make it, you know, it's the same rhetoric where it's like, we have things that are going to better your life. Like, come with me and it's going to be
fucked up.
You're going to have, yeah.
Because adults have consent, but adults can be vulnerable, right?
Yep.
And children are both vulnerable and don't have consent. So in situations like that, it's just
double whammy for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very scary. Yikes. Especially since we all have kids. Like, I'm imagining Logan like, yay, guns.
Yep.
Well, and he'd eat it up, right? That's the sad thing. It's like he doesn't know what he's getting himself into, but he'd eat it up.
Yep.
So if you were wondering, listener, like, how people become radicalized and do crazy things, it starts in friendly ways in techniques that we use.
Yeah.
And we've used in every culture since the dawn of time. Like,
think about that famous video in Syria of that kid wandering around asking for bread.
Yeah.
All you would need is one, like, you know, freedom fighter to be like, here's bread.
Yep.
Bro. Come with me.
Well,
I have bread.
We looked at issues of the article, the ISIS newsletter and stuff, where it's just men hugging,
eating,
and having, like, holiday together.
Yeah.
And
sounds pretty normal to me.
Yeah.
Weird.
Crazy.
Fun, positive stuff. Well, how do you feel, dear? That was an At Ease episode. You did it. You made it.
I made it. Thanks for having me.
Were you not entertained?
I was entertained. That was great.
Did you learn some things?
I did. This was a good way for me to learn some new facts.
You're gonna go to your Seattle teachers conference tomorrow, and you're gonna be on the plane next to people and be like, "Did you hear about these textbooks in Temecula?"
Yeah.
People are gonna be like, "What? What are you talking?"
Tell me more. And I'll
You're
sound
like-
so educated.
You're gonna say battle buddies.
I will. Battle buddies.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here and listening to us. We
Yeah.
super appreciate all the listeners that we've had lately. There's been a lot.
A lot of interaction too. Keep
Lot of
reaching out to us.
interaction.
Love
Proud of
it.
you guys. It's exciting.
You dear. Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm not one of them.
You're here.
Yeah, it's
Hey, you showed up. If we're totally looking into having more guests on.
Yep.
If you want to be a part of the show, dude, hit us up.
Yeah. Either if you have an idea of like what you want,
Mhm.
or you just want to come on. Yeah.
And
talk-
have all these topics thrown at you.
yeah.
That's right.
It's great. It's a good time.
Yeah, dude. So thank you, listeners, for listening to us. Dear, we have a tradition here at Battle Buddies. We have a sign-off where after we're done, we say bonsai. It's
Okay.
a battle charge. So what
Okay.
I say is thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to Battle Buddies. And until next time, bonsai. You're supposed to
You're
say
supposed to
That's
say
it.
it.
Okay. Try it again. Okay. I'm ready.
Let's rewind that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Battle Buddies. And until next time,
Bonsai.
Yeah.